Imagine this. You're a junior hotel staff member. It's just another shift at a luxury resort. But today, you're told the top floor is off limits. No explanation, and armed security at every lift. There's no room service and no staff access. Hours later, a limousine arrives. You catch a small glimpse of suits, uniforms, briefcases. Someone whispers the word Bilderberg. You ask your manager what's going on, and you're told, don't ask again. This isn't fiction. It happens every year. No press, no cameras, just power. Welcome to the Bilderberg Group. And welcome back to the channel that questions everything. Today we're diving into one of the most elite and secretive gatherings on the planet, the Bilderberg Group, a place where the most powerful people meet behind closed doors. Why the secrecy? What are they planning? And is it really just a think tank? To understand what the Bilderberg Group is, you need to understand when it began and who started it. Let's go back. The year is 1954. Europe is still picking through the rubble of World War II. The Cold War is taking hold and tensions are rising between the East and the West. Western leaders were terrified that communism could sweep across Europe. They needed unity, but there was no safe public space where politicians, bankers and thinkers could speak freely. And so, the Bilderberg idea was born. A private annual meeting where the elite of Europe and North America could talk openly with zero press and zero oversight. The man who made the first meeting happen, Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands, a respected royal, a decorated World War II pilot, and controversially, a man with documented ties to the Nazi Party. Whoa, wait, a Nazi? Before the war, Bernhard was a member of the Reiter SS, the Nazi Party's equestrian corps. He also worked for IG Farben, the chemical giant that produced synthetic fuel for the German war machine, and Zyklon B, the gas used in concentration camps. So why would the West still work with him? Well, that's the question, right? Why would Western democracies, who had just defeated fascism, sit down at the table with someone like that? The answer? Because World War II had ended, but the Cold War had only just begun. In that geopolitical shift, former enemies became useful allies. Bernhard was royalty. He was connected. He was anti-communist, and that made him valuable. As the old saying goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The first Bilderberg meeting took place at the Hotel de Bilderberg in Oosterbeek, Netherlands, and it worked. Behind closed doors, without press interference, world leaders could speak without filters. They liked it so much they made it annual. Same rulebook, same secrecy, just bigger names. So what is a Bilderberg meeting really like? Is it a formal conference? A smoke-filled backroom deal? A shadow parliament? In reality, it's extremely well organised. Guests are hand-picked. No applications, no leaks. Around 120 to 150 of the most powerful people in politics, finance, tech, energy, media and military are all invited. So who picks the guests? Well, a steering committee, mostly European and American elites, decides who gets invited each year. That list changes, but always includes CEOs, presidents, tech moguls, and interestingly, a few media execs. Journalists do attend, but they agree not to report on what's said. Whoa, wait. Journalists attend but can't report? How does that work? Well, it's not just encouraged, it's a condition. What happens inside a Bilderberg room stays there. Officially, it's all protected under what's called the Chatham House Rule, a code of silence used by the think tanks and private diplomacy forums. It means attendees are free to use the information they hear, they just can't reveal who said it. So if a Prime Minister admits the economy is crashing, you can quote the idea, but not the speaker. There's no transcript, no minutes, and no recordings. Security is tight. Each venue is locked down like a military base. Local police are brought in, protesters are often kept hundreds of metres away, and hotel staff are either screened or dismissed entirely during the event. Everything from catering to AV is handled in-house or by vetted personnel. The official answer: topics like global trade, AI, energy, markets, Europe-US relations, climate policy, China, Russia, you name it, they talk about it. Pretty much the stuff that shapes everything. But remember, you and I never get to know the details, just the vague topics they release after the fact. Who decides the agenda? What ideas are being tested? What deals are being struck? Why are the public always left in the dark? This is where the suspicion begins. When billionaires and heads of state meet in total secrecy every year without media and without oversight, it's no wonder people ask, what are they really doing? Now this is where the rabbit hole gets a little deeper. You've got 120 of the world's most powerful individuals, presidents, CEOs, military leaders, tech giants, meeting in private, no accountability, no minutes, just whispers. Critics and conspiracy theorists suggest it's not just discussion, it's coordination. So let's break down the 4 most talked about theories about what the Bilderberg Group is really planning. The first and most persistent claim is that the Bilderberg operates like a financial cartel, steering the global economy from the shadows. Attendees include central bank governors, heads of JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, the Deutsche Bank, the IMF, the World Bank, and that's not just a random guest list, that's a financial nerve centre. Critics say economic crises are engineered, currencies destabilised, and trade deals pre-agreed, all behind closed doors at the Bilderberg meeting. If you control the money, then you control the world. So why orchestrate global economic shifts? What would be the point? Well, money equals leverage. When you can crash markets or rescue industries, you pick winners and losers. Imagine being able to trigger inflation or recession in countries you don't even live in. That's not capitalism, that's control. Why would they not want to manipulate the economy when the result is more control, fewer competitors, and a public too tired to fight back? The erasure of borders and the slow orchestration of a single global governance model. In short, the New World Order. This is where the Bilderberg Group crosses paths with another name, the Illuminati. Recently done a video on the Illuminati, feel free to check that out in the description or have a look on my channel. For decades, the term New World Order has sent shivers down the spine of anyone who fears a world run by unelected elites. Bilderberg critics say that this group doesn't just influence nations, it wants to dissolve them completely. Through open borders, global treaties, supranational courts, and unified digital ID systems, some believe the end goal is a post-nation state world controlled by technocrats. A borderless world, but who's in charge? One system equals easier to manage. One set of rules, one ID system, one digital currency. Nationalism is unpredictable. Global governance removes that resistance. Mass migration equals cheap labour and cultural dilution, weakened, unified national identity. People loyal to countries ask questions. People loyal to the global good follow orders. This echoes centuries-old warnings about a coming New World Order, a system not built for the people, but the preservation of elite power. No flags, no borders, no say. Straight from the manifesto of the Illuminati. Let's talk about technology. And because Bilderberg isn't just old men in suits, it's also the CEOs of Google, Microsoft, Palantir, Facebook, and key AI researchers. Many fear these meetings are used to align global surveillance efforts, tracking, data mining, predictive policing, and algorithmic control of information. Like your phone. Implementing things like facial recognition expansion, mass collection of biometric data, and tech censorship aligning across all platforms. Think about it. If a handful of companies control what billions see, and they all sit down at Bilderberg, are they just networking? Or is that coordination? Why coordinate surveillance through big tech? Well, because data is power. It's the new oil. But more than that, it's a behavioural map of every human on Earth. Using things like predictive control, you'll know what people do before they do it. Information gatekeeping, shape what people see, therefore shape what they believe. Give me control of a nation's data, and I care not who makes its laws. Social engineering, the idea that the elites aren't just managing money and machines, but minds. Attendees often include media execs, university heads, NGO leaders, and climate think tanks. The belief that Bilderberg helps shape the narratives that shape us, from climate policy and AI ethics to gender norms and post-truth media. Critics argue the group selects which ideas get platformed and which get buried. So with all this being said, why would they want this? Well, if you control money, identity, media, and thought, you don't need tanks or bombs. You don't need war. You simply guide the world into a future of your design. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. The World Economic Forum 2030 vision. Whether this is truth, half-truth, or myth, these claims persist. And every year, when the doors close again, people ask, who really runs the world? Why engineer culture, ethics, and morality? Because the easiest way to win a war is to make sure no one realizes it's happening. By manufacturing consensus, you can flood culture with slogans, influences, and causes. With a shift overtone window, redefine what's acceptable thought year by year. If you weaken critical thinking, make questioning taboo. And if you redirect energy, keep people distracted with symbolic battles while the real ones happen unseen. If you can define what's offensive, you can define who's dangerous. And if you can control the narrative, you can rewrite the past, steer the present, and prescript the future. When you combine these four elements, economic control, border erasure, surveillance alignment, and cultural shaping, you don't need force, you don't need fear, you just need compliance. And if the public never sees the hand that moves the pieces, then they'll never realise they're in a game. So you might be thinking, so what? Rich people meet in hotels, it happens all the time. Why does it matter? But here's the reason why it matters. In democracies, power is supposed to be accountable. You vote, you challenge, you change things. But when decisions are discussed in secret by people you can't vote out, how do you challenge that? Power without transparency isn't just suspicious, it's dangerous. Some say Bilderberg doesn't make any binding decisions. Fine, but what if the real power lies in shaping consensus before the public even hears the options? If CEOs, generals, and prime ministers all leave with the same worldview, then what chance do we have to disrupt it? You don't need to control the vote if you've already narrowed down the choices. If there's nothing to hide, then why all the secrecy? Why the blackout? Why the rotating venues, armed guards, and media silence? The more we're told it's nothing to worry about, the more people start to worry. As already discussed, the press is free to cover it, they just don't. Whether or not you believe the theories, many of the topics the Bilderberg Group discuss do shape your life. Interest rates, climate policy, war strategy, tech regulation, climate policy, gender ideology, your mortgage rates rising, your online content being filtered, your data being harvested, your country sending troops or aid abroad. Decisions might not be made at the Bilderberg, but the seeds are certainly planted. In the end, maybe the Bilderberg Group isn't a secret government. Maybe it's just a place for powerful people to talk without the noise. But if the same people who run our banks, our armies, our media, and our tech platforms all sit at the same table year after year in silence, then what's really being built? A shadow government, a global think tank, or a harmless tradition? You decide. If you like this video on the deep dive of the Bilderberg Group, please remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Tune in next time for the next deep dive. Until then, question everything, keep safe, and keep one eye open. Toodles.